Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 39 and we have a good one for you today. This thing is really important to some cultures in the Indian Pacific Ocean and they love this fish and there's a lot of interest in fish. Today we are going to be talking about the reef triggerfish. Reef triggerfish, or scientific name Rhinacanthus rectangulus. Again, that's Rhinacanthus rectangulus. Scientific name is the rectangular triggerfish or the wedge-tail triggerfish. And the wedge-tail is pretty obvious to see because you have this wedge at the base of the tail. It is part of the family Belicidae, which is the family of triggerfish. And as I said, it's part of the Indian Pacific area. And it extends all the way from Hawaii to Polynesia and Australia. So very, very large range. These are found in very shallow reefs. I don't believe they're found in the reefs close to shore. I think they're farther out in the ocean, but they are found in relatively shallow reefs. Now these fish get to up to about 30 centimeters, which is about 12 inches in length, just under 12 inches. And as you can tell, just like most triggerfish, they have a very oval shaped but very highly compressed body. I mean, oval, they're very thin when you're looking at them from front. And you can see right here, and in this picture right here, it's a lot easier to see it on this one. They have these spines on the back. That's actually how the triggerfish got its name. They've got these spines. Technically it has 3, but most people only see the 2. You got one very large spine in the front, and then you have a second spine. That second spine is actually what locks that first spine into place. And it almost looks like the trigger on a gun, and that's where they got their common name, the trigger. So this small second dorsal spine that locks the main spine into an upright position, that's what it uses when it shelters inside of a rock crevice or things like that, especially when they're running away from predators. What they'll do is they'll run into a rock, direct their spine so that the predator cannot pull them out, because it's a bone joint. So, and the first spine can only be depressed. It can only go back down by depressing the second. That's how it got its triggerfish. You know, as along with how it looks. They also have a spine on the belly that it does the exact same thing. Now, as you can also see, it does have a rather large head. These things look like they're about a third head. And they actually are about a third head. And they terminate in a relatively small mouth that have extremely strong jaws. The jaws, I mean, they're adapted for crushing shells. These things are similar to the pufferfish that we talked about. They're in the order Tetradontiformes. Tetradontiformes, you know, your pufferfish, something like that, they have very strong jaws with very thick teeth. And speaking of the teeth, the reef triggerfish's teeth in the top lip are actually blue. A little interesting there. Along with the blue on the coloration, you have this red on the base of the pectoral, but really and truly, you're going to identify this fish based on this very characteristic wedge pattern with the black and yellow bars. No, it's really pretty distinct of this. This fish does get confused with, I believe it's called the Picasso triggerfish. But when you kind of just think wedge, they're relatively easy. These fish primarily move by just moving the anal and dorsal fin. So these two fins right here, by just kind of waving. Remember we talked about the pufferfish moving by its pectoral fins, so the fins on its side, and that's how it moves up and down. Well, the triggerfish just use these two right here. They will use their tail fin, especially when running away from predators, but that is just for an extreme burst of Now the pelvic fins, you know, I talked about how there's a spine on the belly. That's actually the pelvic fins that were actually overlaid by skin, and they fused themselves to form a single spine. Kind of your last thing about the sort of appearance is the eyes. The eyes are set really high in the head. And something interesting about the eyes is they can actually move independently as well. Kind of think like a gecko. No, a chameleon. Sorry, not a gecko. A chameleon. Think like a chameleon. They can move those around. So, you know that. As far as feeding, they really eat a lot of invertebrates, small starfish, crustaceans. And they'll actually blow jets of water out of their mouth to kind of disturb the sediment to find those relatively small crustaceans. They'll also eat algae, things like that, and that's where those teeth kind of come into play. They're crushing teeth made to hit hard-shelled or little mollusks, little things like that. And as far as like their temperament, they're actually a fairly aggressive fish. They're very solitary, especially in captivity. If you're out in the wild, they might be a little closer. When they're in captivity, they really do not want to be around other people. In fact, they're so aggressive that people that, you know, go reef diving, these fish have been known to actually bite and attack swimmers that come into their area. Now, that's not to say, you know, we talked about captivity. That's not to say that you can't find these for the aquarium trade. They're really common, actually. You can buy a small one of these for about $50 when they're available. You know, they're not that expensive of a fish as far as expensive marine fish go. So, you know, they're pretty common. So now, let's get to talking about the interesting fact that we like to in this video. Now, many people in the media, or if you've done some internet searches, you've probably heard one of the names of this fish. I'm going to attempt to say it, and I'm going to fail miserably, but I'm going to try. Humu humu nuku nuku pua'au. Okay, I'm gonna try it again. Humu humu nuku nuku pua'au. Okay, that's the other common name of this fish, or humu humu. This is the state fish of Hawaii, and I believe has the record for the longest common name of any fish in the world. Quote me on that, but I believe it is. Humu humu nuku nuku pua'au it actually means triggerfish with a snout like a pig. And it is the state fish of Hawaii. It's not the most interesting fact that we can end the video on. Not the coolest scientific fact, but it is definitely a really funny. It's very popular in mainstream media. People trying to say it. So I just figured it'd be a good one to end this video. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you again. If I don't, please be safe. Have a great day. Listen, guys, take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you do, I'd really appreciate it. I hope to see you again. Peace.